Great. Well, thank you all for joining today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Kathy Carneth. I am the founder and visionary for Sangha Healing, and that is your trusted network for holistic resources. We're a dynamic hub connecting wellness seekers with carefully vetted professional healing practitioners, and we offer a diverse range of comprehensive health options. For holistic practitioners, we provide tools and guidance needed to expand their business, engage with like-spirited people, and amplify their influence on the world. For our Sangha or our community, we nurture that global community united in raising awareness of all the different types of complementary and alternative medicine while celebrating the innate power of self-healing. So welcome to our workshop. Today we are speaking with Kelly, and she is going to teach us about profitable pricing method, price with purpose, and profit with confidence. I'm thrilled to have you here as we explore how conscious businesses can utilize various pricing strategies to offer their gifts to the world. So we are honored to be joined by Kelly, founder of TerraCare Financial, and she helps conscious business owners take charge of their finances, ease their money worries, grow healthy and profitable businesses, and ultimately gain the freedom to focus on what they truly love. I myself had the pleasure of collaborating with Kelly on pricing my new practitioner packages that are now currently available on the Sangha Healing website. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to just take a second and share my window here. Let's see. Okay. Looks like you can see my screen and okay. Can you guys see that now? Okay. And I just want to make sure it'll move through. Okay, good. And Kathy, if you don't mind, I probably won't always be able to see everybody. I think a lot of people went off camera too. So if I don't know if you'll see comments or anything, but I will invite anybody, just stop me, ask questions. I don't want to talk at you for the entire time. So I would love participation. So Kathy, if you could keep an eye on that for me.
Absolutely.
And then just let me know whenever pops up. And I really love being here. So thank you for inviting me into this community. When I started this version of my business, I've had a bookkeeping business since 2004, but this version really was created in 2018. And I was actually working at a wellness center, coaching half my time and doing the bookkeeping the other half, which was kind of the birth of this version of the business. And my intention at that time was to do this for health and wellness practitioners. You guys might not all identify yourselves that way, but it was definitely my heart was to work with people that are in this community. And it's expanded a little bit to other purpose-driven businesses since then, but that's the heart of what I do. And it was my desire to take this skill set and experience I had developed and help help you be successful in your businesses as my way of creating an impact. So this really feels on purpose for me to be here today and support you in this area of the business that can be tricky and challenging and bring up a lot of feelings and thoughts and things. And I think of my business when the kind of coaching I identify with is financial wellness coaching, because I think our finances are as much a part of our wellness, or how we feel about money, how we're thriving in that part of our lives, really impacts our wellness and your ability to walk your talk and take care of yourself and fill your cup. Pricing and financial wellness overall can really impact that. So I hope that today you are able to pull through maybe a little bit of strategy, probably more mindset. This is very mindset focused, that supports you in that wellness in your business and in your life. And I'm here for you. If anything comes up, please, like I said, interrupt me during the talk, or we'll share some ways to find me after if I can help you with that in any way. That would truly be the work of my heart. So who is this for? I mentioned it a little bit about the financial wellness for people, or from financial wellness, health and wellness. But this is really for anybody who wants to feel congruent with their pricing, in alignment, feeling good about what they charge, I imagine that many of you are sensitive to energy, and your pricing and what you charge for your services is very much an exchange of energy. And when that feels congruent and in alignment, it makes it much easier to sell, and much easier for you to meet your goals, and just feels better overall. So that's what we're here for. And, I love this quote. I don't always love Mel Robbins, but I love this quote of, there will always be someone who can't see your worth. Don't let it be you. And I just want to start with, I don't define our worth by what we price our services, but our worthiness, how worthy we feel can be reflected in that. Because, if we don't feel worthy or deserving of that success, it will kind of leak into our pricing. And so we're going to just bolster that feeling of confidence and worthiness and alignment and congruency today. That's our goal. Okay. So when I first developed this talk, I literally went through Facebook groups I was in, like coaching groups that I was in, and I pulled these quotes directly from that. And just to show, like, pricing's a struggle for all of us. I get coaching on my own pricing and always have, because left to my own devices, I will tend to undercharge. But also it's just hard for us. And a lot of it comes from the fact that many of us are providing services. We don't have a product necessarily that there's some kind of markup and we're selling. We are offering services, and there's that everything comes up with that. And that's why I focus a lot on the mindset. Like, when we're pricing maybe our intellectual capital, our experience we bring to the table, maybe our time, but all those other pieces that come with it, it's really easy to discount that, especially if you're doing a service of your heart, something that you really love and you care about and you want to get out there. There's a lot of pieces that make it tricky. So the last quote on there says, "My program is bomb. It's worth so much, but I'm scared to raise my prices." And that person had a lot of other thoughts and feelings and mindset that came up around their pricing. And that's where that comes from. And I can feel that struggle, and I've been there before too. So when you're doing your pricing, just know that it's normal to have a lot of feelings about it. And then just remember that a lot of our money stories and our money beliefs and things are being pulled into that process. So I have 4 thoughts here on why we undercharge, because most of us are going to lean that way. There's very rarely somebody that is going to say, "Oh, I charge way too much." Most of the time we lean the other direction, especially as purpose-driven people. And I want to talk about actually 4 ways it affects you, and then I'm going to talk about some reasons why we do that. But when we undercharge, we're undermining our credibility and the confidence. And it shows. When our pricing seems too low compared to what we're saying it offers, it can get that too good to be true feeling, and people can feel that. Your client's efforts, when we're undercharging, it's disproportionate to their investment. So I had a client recently that had a course, and the course was heavy. It was, when somebody, to get successfully through the course, they were going to have to put in a lot of work, and they were going to have to show up, and they were going to have to spend time on it. And the pricing was so low, they probably thought they were getting a little help, a little lift. And so when that becomes disproportionate, they're either not going to be successful with it, or they will choose not to buy it because they don't think they're actually getting what they're buying. Undercharging is a huge reason why business owners are not profitable. It's one of the changing your pricing can have the quickest and most powerful impact on your financial success overall. People often go to, when they're struggling, they're like, "Oh, what can I cut? What can I cut?" And maybe there's just an opportunity to change your pricing structure and have much more success. And I talked about that energy exchange a little bit before. And when we are undercharging, and I've been guilty of this many times, the other person it feels off to them. The energy exchange feels off. They maybe stop showing up because they feel like, "Man, I'm getting too much out of this." Or they may need more and not want to ask for it because you're not showing up and charging for it. So it can feel gross to them. So there's ways that this is really meaningfully impacting your client and you if you undercharge. And so why do we do this? There can be a lack of confidence in the value of our services. It can even be like, might not even necessarily be that you lack the confidence, but it's so easy for you. It comes so naturally, or it's that service of the heart. And so you can discount the value that you're providing. I'm curious. I feel like I'm talking at you, and I just like to hear if any of this is resonating so far. Like, has anybody felt that before? Either some of the things I mentioned on that last page, or even in here where like, people are like, this is so amazing. And you're like, that's the easiest thing I could do. I could do this in my sleep. Does anybody resonate with that?
I thought about what you said regarding it's gross. That's not a word I would use, but yes, I can understand now why sometimes when we don't get business, it's because the energy is off and it's because we're undercharging. So that I never looked at it that way, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons why we undercharge is because we don't think we're going to get more. I know my services are worth a hell of a lot, and yet I struggle.
Yeah.
Same thing with the products I have. They're excellent. Oh, they're too expensive. And really, it's because people's priorities are misplaced because I'm in the health industry. So how do you tell someone the nails you got, the tattoo you got, the fake this and fake that you got, it's not as important as your health? How do you tell them that?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I'd be curious what other people say too, but I think I don't know that you can tell them that so much as you can show them what's available to them when they do prioritize their health. Like if you can help them understand the transformation that's there for them or give them that hope, then they have to make that conclusion themselves, right? But that's the thing. Like, I don't know about you guys. I do books, so I see what people spend. And there's times they won't opt for a certain service, or they, or even if they've decided not to book us, and then I find out they're going on a cruise the next month, or they're doing something else that or they invested in, I've had this on the bookkeeping side. They've made a different investment that I'm like, oh my God, this would have helped you so much more.
Going on a cruise when your health is falling apart. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can happen. It can happen. So I think that's they have to come to that conclusion. But so what we can do is share what the benefits are of our work and help them understand it. And the right people will raise their hand and prioritize that investment with you at the time that it's right for them. Yeah. I saw Kim, I think Kim raised her hand too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kim. You're on mute.
And maybe she got pulled away for her.
Let me unmute her. Oh, I can't. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, we can come.
Kim, we're here. If you do unmute, just jump in. So yeah, I'm glad that, thank you for sharing, and Aurelia, that kind of hit home for you. It's just, one phone.
I was muted earlier. I didn't realize it, but yeah, I definitely resonate with that. So I personally come from a musician background, and something I see a lot in music circles is people are sometimes embarrassed to charge for their services. It's like, oh, I don't want to make it about the money. I don't, but it kind of leads to some issues of different ways. One example I just want to share with you all briefly is years ago I was a dishwasher at a assisted living center. And they didn't have an entertainment program, but what they had a retired local school teacher who would come in and play for the residents once a week. This was before music therapy sort of took off. And she was just doing that out of the kindness of her heart, playing songs. And she was like, oh, I don't want any money. I'm retired. It's fine. Well, then she ended up moving on. And then the residents are like, well, we want our entertainment back. So then they're putting out a call. Can you do recreation entertainment? And then these musicians are showing up and they're like, okay, well, here's my rate. And they're like, oh, it's not in our budget. So it's a volunteer position, and nobody will do it.
Right.
So that's an example of how you want to be nice, but sometimes it can backfire, in the long run.
Yeah.
Because it kind of devalues the work, and trying to be sensitive to that too. You're on a bill with 3 other performing acts. and the other 2 or 3 are like, I don't care if anyone's even here, I'm just playing. But then like one of them's like, hey, I need to eat. So it can easily get unfair. So it's,
that's a great example of an industry where like the market can be people that are kind of doing it for free or even busking or whatever that looks like, all the way to people making millions and millions of dollars. So that's a really interesting one to think about. Music, art's the same way. And the other thing that comes to mind in that space, and we find it with helpers and healers too, is like, if I make it about the money, I'm not being true to my art or to my service or that idea of community and like, you know, struggling musician or starving artist, or, you know, there's some of those identities that come into it. And we're going to talk about identity. And I think that plays a part too, or the community. And, you know, there's a place for giving away or charity or providing some free service. There's always room for some of that. It's just, we have to make sure our cup is filled first and that we're, you know, that we're giving it from a generous place. I think a lot of times we start with that heart, that purpose part, and forget to take care of us first. And then there might not be a business for too long, or you're just struggling and can't walk your talk. And so a lot of good conversation on that. Thank you for sharing that too. So another couple places it comes from is the desire to help our clients. I think you touched on that too with the woman who was giving away the music. That might have been her desire and a pure one from her heart, and that was no big deal for her. Or it might have come from a, oh, you can't possibly charge from this type of place, which wouldn't have served her. And then along with that is like that desire to want to be affordable. You know, that comes up a lot. We want to be attainable and affordable. And not to say you can't be, but it's the mindset behind it. There are ways to deliver a service or product that is affordable. Or maybe you give away some of the stuff, you know, you do have some services that are there for free, but when somebody's going to invest in a thing that's going to give them transformation, asking them to really commit at a level that serves you and them. And I think a lot of times, and Aurelia kind of touched on this too, like the assumptions about the audience. Well, nobody wants to pay for it, or you might get a few people that say it's too expensive, which could mean it's too expensive, or could mean I really don't want to have to do this work and show up in that way and make change in my life. So I'm going to say it's too expensive because I can always, hide behind the money excuse. But we may decide they don't have money because we've heard it a few times, or we may decide like, I want to work with this particular audience, and we might decide that about them. But yet they may be super resourceful, and it's really not our business to jump into their pockets and make that decision for them. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about. But all of them have that money mindset. If you've heard that term, like all of these are clues to somebody's money mindset. Okay. I keep forgetting the spot where I can advance the slides. So that's where there's a pause in between that. So I've said money mindset a couple of times. It's a term that's thrown around a lot. So I'm going to share a little bit about what that means to me. And I have these 6 elements that I've identified that to me are all part of our money mindset. The first is sense of identity. So I mentioned that struggling musician, starving artist. And for some people, how that might show up in our businesses, like our business might start as a little hobby thing, or it might start as a side hustle, or it might start as, just kind of a, there's a word I'm trying to get, like a contractor. There's a word it's not coming to me, but like we may not identify ourselves as the owner of a full-fledged business, and a full-fledged business that makes the kind of money that you want to make, that will align with the vision you have for your life. So what I find a lot with, I'm going to use the term alchemist, but a lot of times with purpose-driven people who see possibility and believe in transformation, which I think a lot of us would identify with. What I find a lot in that space is that we have an inner knowing. We know the potential for something, what we can create. We're very tied into a vision that probably has some time freedom and money freedom. And I've used this a couple of times, but that ability to kind of really walk our talk. There's reasons we become entrepreneurs to begin with, and a lot of it comes from a freedom lifestyle for many of us. So we know we have that possibility. However, when we look at the business we're building, it may not line up with the ability to reach that vision. That's like a disconnect. And I think if you're feeling that, like if you feel like, you've got this little vision, this inner knowing of what's possible, but you don't see how it's going to get there with what you're currently building, might be a chance to look at your identity and how you see yourself. Because I think you could agree that somebody that sees themselves as somebody that makes, I'm going to use revenue numbers, but you could sub anything in here, but like something that's like, okay, I have a business, I'm going to make $50,000 this year, is going to be much different than an identity of somebody that says, I'm going to make $50,000 a month. I'm not saying you need to ascribe to that identity, but I show that just so you can feel the difference between those two things. So how those people are going to show up, how they're going to market their business, how they're going to connect with others, how they're going to price things are going to be different with those two identities. And so the first place I like to start is kind of checking in on your sense of identity. How do you see yourself in this business? Do you identify somebody that's building a business that matches the vision and the inner knowing you have for what you can create in your life? Or is it kind of on the side, a hobby thing? That's just something to think about, because that identity is driving all these other pieces in your money mindset. Our identity also is going to influence our beliefs about money, what we think is possible for us, what we walk around saying about money. And these can be like the cliche things like money is the root of all evil, or rich people are this, or I like to make money, but if I make that kind of money, I'm going to have to work really hard. Like all of those things are beliefs that come from a variety of factors. And those beliefs are driving our actions, and then our actions are creating our results. So there's an opportunity to kind of mine for those beliefs that are impacting it. And we're going to do an exercise today specifically around beliefs and pricing. The next piece of it is how we value our time. So that value piece comes in Kathy and I, when we first started the talk today, when I hopped on, we were even talking about like the expectations we set for how others value our time. And that's really important. So when you recognize the value of your time, you're going to, again, show up in a different way, say yes to certain things, say no to other things. And it's going to make the difference between, operating a high-end business versus undercharging and over-delivering. How you value your time is a critical piece of that. Self-talk is another one. Oh, I have in there recognizing the value that we have to offer. So that's kind of similar to the valuing your time, but it also has to do with really recognizing, like that part I said where this can feel so easy to you, you can do it like in your sleep, but to somebody else, it's providing life-changing value. So it's important to recognize that. That's an important part of our money mindset. And then how we talk about it, how we talk about ourselves with money, how we talk about ourselves with business, the questions we ask ourselves about it, or the statements we make about it. I have gotten in this point in my business, I've struggled less with the money side and more with my time. And I'll catch myself saying, oh, I'm just so busy, or, catch myself making statements that make it seem like I'm the only one in the business that can fix something. Well, that's self-talk that I'm just perpetuating, which is, impacting my mindset and my beliefs, and then ultimately my actions and results. And then lastly on there is your sense of self-worth. And really all these elements impact your sense of self-worth. How you're talking to yourself about how you see yourself in your business, so identity, the beliefs that you have about money and business and what you're building, how you're valuing your time, how you value your services you're offering to others, how you're talking to yourself about it. They're all impacting your self-worth, which is then going to trickle out into your pricing and into the conversations you're having, the boundaries you have with people, the expectations you have for yourself and for your clients. So the good thing I always like to point out is money mindset can change. And what I love about it is it can change in an instant. There are times where like you feel like you might have to revisit something and kind of hold that space, but also you can decide to accept a new belief in an instant. So I'm going to just share that mindset with you, and that kind of set that intention that some of what we talk about today, you can change in an instant. Something that really resonates for you, I'd love for you to pull from this and have a change in it immediately. So how I'm going to check in. How's everybody doing? Any questions or thoughts come off of that? Did you catch any beliefs or identity things that you might have that could be impacting your money or your business in a way that isn't serving you?
For me, sometimes it's a prejudgment. Oh, they won't be able to afford it. I know that was big when I was doing health coaching. But the thing is that if people really want something, they will find a way.
Yep. Yeah, it's holding them as powerful enough to do that. And I think we'll get into that when we start talking about the beliefs.
Good. Okay.
Hold them as powerful enough to be resourceful and find a way. Because those are the ideal clients for you are probably people that are going to put in the work. And sometimes that work is finding the resources that makes this possible for them. Because you're going to be asking a lot of things of them. I don't know exactly what you do, but kind of in that space, if they have to, maybe they're going to have to, I don't know if you do supplements, but they might have to change the supplements, their food, their movement, the time they spend on things. There's a lot of things they have to do. And it's okay to hold them as resourceful too. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going. We can always jump back to things too. So I'm going to ask you guys, maybe even close your eyes. Don't try to read through all of this on your own. I want to read them out loud to you. So I just invite you to close your eyes so that you can really feel how they impact you. And I'm also going to add some support questions to it as we go. And I just want you to just be an observer of your thoughts, be an observer what comes in, but try to hear them as if they're true. And then whatever little argument pops up that tells you they're not true, pay attention to that, not from a judgment place, but just observe the thoughts that come in. So the first belief is that the work I do makes a huge difference in people's lives. So this is really believing in service and specifically believing in your service. So a supporting question to this to think about is, why is being of service important to you? Why does this work matter to you? And use that as a clue to what to lean into in really believing in the value of your service. The next belief is that the value of my work is in the outcomes I create. The value of my work is in the outcomes I create. So this isn't about, this is about shifting that focus from what you do over to your client's experience and outcomes. So it's not the number of calls you have. It's not the amount of time you're spending with them. It's not about the number of, worksheets they get or anything else that goes along with your work. It's about the outcome. So up-leveling this belief is especially important for people that are charging hourly versus value-based. So it's just an opportunity to, rather than valuing your time in your pricing, valuing the outcome. People are paying you for the transformation you help them receive, not the time you're giving them. So a support question on that is, how can you increase the value in your client's life? Really getting yourself to focus on that when you're pricing, not how much time you're giving. Okay. The third belief is premium prices create greater commitment and better results. So when people invest at a higher level, they take their commitment much more seriously and they give it respect. They tend to show up, they do the work, they get better results. And so everybody benefits, you and your clients. So something to think about that is for you, if you think about this for you, who would you be if you were here to play at the highest level? So you're playing full out and you're asking them to play full out. What would that look like? Getting them to expecting, I guess it's back to that, expecting them to commit at their highest level too. This is a big one for me that I have to take in from time to time. Premium prices mean I can work with fewer clients and create amazing outcomes. So it becomes less about how many people do I need to see? How many transactions am I doing? And much more about kind of pouring more into the clients I do have and really ensuring that my outcomes for them are amazing. And that goes back to the value of my work is in my outcomes I create, not getting the next client. And it also helps you reach those income goals without burning out and being able to stay of highest service to your clients. So the supporting question there is, what permission do you need or want for you to make great money in less time? For me, this meant that I have a team and that my team can support the clients. I don't have to support everybody, but that I can empower my team to support them at a much higher level, which does mean we can still impact a lot of people. But I just had to get smarter. I had to let go, not smarter. I had to let go of control of every little thing. So this might show up in different ways. You'll see a theme here with this one a little bit, but the key to charging premium prices, and you can define premium prices however you want to, but the key to charging premium prices is connecting my work to an amazing outcome. So we're back again. It's all about that outcome. It's about the value of the transformation. It's our confidence in it. That is the theme here. And it's really, and then the commitment of the client to it. So what if you made all your business decisions based on what's going to be the best outcome for your clients? Not how long it's going to take necessarily, not in any of the things that involve you other than like what could give them the best outcome. Might shift a little bit in how you see the value of what you do. So again, I'm going to pause there and see if anybody has thoughts or questions. Did anybody have any of those little negative pieces that came up as they heard these? Like, but I have this, or my clients are special because of this, or did anybody have anything pop up? Those are really great thoughts to kind of observe and maybe reframe for yourself.
Yep, for B. Kelly, well, they all resonate, but the premium price one, especially as I just launched some packages, because I meet practitioners who aren't all in, that same thing, and they're not, they don't want to do the work. It's like, well, I can't do everything for you, right? We have to do this together. And so I think having those premium prices then attracts the people that I want that really, truly want to do the work to grow.
Right. If somebody just wants to be listed in a directory, they can go pay somebody else whatever price those other people pay for that. What you're providing is a much bigger transformation for them. And so it's recognizing that difference instead of trying to beat the cheap directory over here, which you never do that. But like, it'd be very easy to take that mindset and be just trying to compete with them. Well, that's not what you do. You're creating a much different impact and outcome. Love that. Anybody else? Or should I keep going?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay, I'll keep going. So I have a little question for you, kind of about your beliefs. So I'm going to give an example after, but the question is, what would I have to believe to charge what my services are truly worth? So if you're sitting there now and you're like, oh man, she keeps saying this, I do wish I could do this. I wish if there's like a next edge that you could go to with your pricing, but you're feeling like, we've got a lot of story, whatever the story is, my people can't afford it, or, oh God, but I only do this, I spend this much time on it. I can't charge them that. What would you have to believe to charge what your services are truly worth? So the example I have is, I have a couple examples. I believe my time is valuable. I believe that people get amazing results by working with me. I believe that I'm always learning and growing. And what I love about that one is it gives you flexibility. Like your business can evolve with you as you're learning and growing. So I'd like you to come up with 3 beliefs for you that you could hold present to yourself if you're one that's working on your pricing currently, or it might be something to practice for a bit before you decide to look at your pricing. Come up with 3 beliefs. And I'd love to hear at least one that somebody comes up with. I'm really making you guys work for it this time. I never know if I'm going to do that on these, but I'm feeling like I want to connect in here, and I want to hear from you too. And if nobody volunteers, I'll have to put Kathy on the spot for one.
For sure, I can jump in and maybe it'll spark others. My experience, everything I've done is invaluable.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. Well, hopefully we can get somebody to volunteer in the next one too. So one thing I know for sure when we're working on pricing or we're working on anything in our business, that whole marketing is another place this comes up, that like, who am I to do whatever can pop up, the dreaded imposter syndrome. So I have a couple exercises that really help with that. And I would recommend to do these exercises along with that belief work, but to do these exercises before you go to set any pricing. When somebody is struggling with this, and you're trying to work on it yourself, you can just see the self-doubt or not feeling good enough, or like the things about your audience, all of that can come up. So these exercises will really help you remember why your work is so valuable, what's so important about it, and let you kind of drop the who am I stories. And so the exercise I suggest here is to ground into your impact that you're making. And what I would suggest is for today, if you could come up with 5 of these, what I'm going to explain in a second, and then you can work on more to get up to 30, preferably later on. But I want you to think about the results that your clients get while working for you. So a prompt I would give you is, if I was to follow around a client, maybe even have access to their internal thoughts while I'm following around a client of yours before they worked with you. So if I spent a day with them, I could hear their internal thoughts, I could watch them and observe them, see how they're interacting with people in their relationships, see how they're choosing to spend their time, see the choices they're making, how they feel about those choices. If I spent a day with them before they worked with you and a day after they worked with you, what things would I notice were different and had changed and had up-leveled for them? And so I'd encourage you to think of practical things, emotional things, tangible. I've got how to, I just like blanked on that one, listing what your client will know how to do. Oh, like what they now know how to do. That languaging was a little weird. So, there might be like, how are they getting out of bed in the morning? How are they interacting with their kids? What are they spending their time on before work? Or, if they work, what they're spending their day with, what they're choosing to eat if you do that kind of work. Everything, how their shoulders are, how straight their back is, how able they are to bounce out of a chair and go do something. Anything that might have changed for them when working with you. And so, the first 5, 10 or so can come really easy, but I promise you, if you stick with this exercise, spend a little more time on it and get to that next 15 to 30. The gold is in those like 15 to 30, and probably the things that make you really unique are in the last 20 to 30, like that last 10 you come up with. So this is a worthwhile exercise for your confidence and for your pricing, but it also can help with marketing and give you things that you can highlight for your clients as you're working on things. Does anybody have one that they'd like to share, or a couple that come to mind? Or maybe everybody could share one. Everybody that's willing to go off mute could share one. That would be awesome.
And can I share what Kim put in the chat as well? She says, I read in a book that there is room for me too at my skill set, and I'm this time and place, but it's difficult to believe that in an overly saturated market.
I think everybody thinks their market is overly saturated because you're so inundated in it. I'm a bookkeeper. If you even try to pick up a name for a bookkeeper, I had to make up a name for my business because every bookkeeping name has been taken. So I would challenge that belief first, that your market is saturated. And if there is some truth to that, find a way to make yourself different. Find a way to offer a value that is unique. Find a way to, maybe it's the people you work with or a special level of connection you give them, the way you remember things about them, whatever it could be. I don't know what you do, but find a way to be unique in that space, because then you're not saturated. Then you stand apart, right? So I would challenge that belief first. My market is saturated. And then I think you could come up with an identity, back to that mindset, where you get to take up that space, right? Have an identity that claims the space that you were speaking of in that quote. And then the part I like with the quote that you said about, like, there's a space for me where I'm at today. That's something to think about with pricing too, is, oh, I think she had to fall off. But that, we don't have to, like, if, let's say we're talking about pricing and you do want to raise your pricing, you don't have to do it all in one swoop. You can sell a few. I love to stair step pricing. So you sell a few at your current pricing, or like the next, maybe raise it a little bit, sell a few things there, raise a little bit more. That's a way that you can build your confidence as you go and know that you can keep working towards where you really want to be with your pricing. I saw something else go in the chat, but I couldn't catch it.
Yep. Hillary, I have the opposite problem. I don't have any direct competition in my market. So clients don't have a notion of the value amount.
Do you know what Hillary does? No.
I do. Do you want
Hillary,
to tell?
it might help me to ground in.
I teach corporate yoga.
Are you saying that the corporate people don't, because the way you're offering the class, maybe they don't see that model as much, versus if I'm an individual going to a studio?
That's how they compare it. Yes, exactly. And so when an individual going to a studio is going to pay $10, $15, maybe $20, depending on where they live, that's where they don't, it isn't like, they have no concept of what the dollar amount is. So it's completely left to whatever their imagination is, which comes to that $10 a person kind of a number.
How do you price that currently?
I have packages. And so if you book a weekly package and make a 3-month commitment, your per class price is lower. I don't charge by the person. I charge by the class.
So for the corporate, you'll charge because they pay for it, not the people, right?
They can charge their employees, but generally no. Generally, the company pays for it. So
I think what comes to mind is you may want to draw some comparison there of, like, listen, if you had, I don't know how much your average class size is, but you could draw something that, like, paints the picture for them of comparing those two things. But I think my thought for you kind of goes to this list of 30 is, like, really focus on the impact it can make to their people, the productivity because really, like, sorry, my brain is thinking about the benefits and then I'll go there. The productivity they get, the health of their people and the longevity of their workers. Those are a couple, but if you went deep on those and shared that with them, you could get to where, it's priceless, with some of those things that you're offering. And so when you then give a price, they're already anchored to all those things that they're getting. And I think to help them ground into a price, I would draw some kind of comparison of, like, if the people were to have to leave their office, get to a class, get back to the office, the amount of impact that would have to their personal time, what they would have to pay for that if they were to go to a studio. I think you could draw some parallels for them that help them kind of visualize that cost. And does that make any sense?
it does. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to share? I know I'm checking our time. We've got 12 minutes left. I've got a little bit more for us. All right, I'll keep moving. I'll let you guys be a little shy. I'm glad.
There's something. Sorry, I'm just not getting
Go
back.
ahead.
What you said about what value do we bring, asking these questions, made me think that I can start doing videos that put them in a place of what it would feel like if they knew how to cook, they could handle the kitchen with confidence, they could prepare a menu, they could all of those things. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Leave that up just a second so I can copy it. Make a list of 30.
Yep.
That in each category, right?
30 total. I mean, you can go more, but I would say 30 total with those potential. Those are just kind of starting points for you to think about.
Okay.
But I would say like that idea of aspirational marketing for you is key. Like, a lot of people are going to sell on the pain points, but I think you could pull them forward with that aspirational marketing of what they'll, the cooking and how they'll feel and those impacts in their life. That's really going to be key to something you said earlier. And I'm not remembering it exactly, but I know we talked about kind of those benefits, like, the people that are making choices, like that's going to help them see the importance of spending that on their health now and maybe letting go of something else that's not contributing to their health because they're pulled forward by what's possible for them versus just the pain, and just selling on the scary parts. Cause I think we all feel invincible until we're kind of really in pain and limited. And I think you can sell to people on that aspirational part of what's possible. I think that could be really key.
Okay.
Is that making sense? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Okay. So just some mindsets for you to keep in mind to make it a little bit easier for you. One is focus your rates on your new ideal clients. So don't think about the one that said they couldn't afford it. Don't think about the one that doesn't understand that yoga in the workplace is important to them. Focus on the ones who would really value this for their people and speak to them. Lead with the value, not the features. So, those differences that it's going to make for them versus you get this many sessions and you get this and you get that, like really focus on what matters to them and that value. Quote with confidence. So as you raise your prices, and we've all been there, like you go to say the new number and your voice can shake, or I've even, people whose voice is cracked when they go to say it. And there's a nervousness as we're trying on this new price until we feel like, oh my gosh, anybody will pay this. It can really feel funny. And so one of my mentors shared this idea that if you say the number out loud to yourself enough, that it can get like a neutral energy, like a neutrality. And she used the example of like to have it be as neutral as saying, can you pass me the salt? Can you please pass the salt? There's no energy to that. There's no nervousness. It's just neutral. And if you can have like, yes, I have this package and it's $5,000 and just say it neutrally, or I have this, I offer these services and it's, $997, whatever your numbers are, have that be very neutral. So your voice isn't raising or lowering or shaking or cracking. That can make a big difference for you. Let go of the guilt and resist the urge to justify your new rates. They may not even know their new rates. And you're not a terrible person for wanting to charge more in your business. So don't feel like you need to justify it or tell them. You are a compassionate and caring person. You still, you want this transformation for your people. All of that is still true. You're just charging something different that works for many reasons. So you don't have to justify it and tell them those reasons. You can just state it. And then I talked about the stair stepping, like it's okay to not make big changes. You can do a little at a time. And that's totally fine. A reminder, we talked about this in the beliefs, but your clients aren't investing in you. They're investing in their transformation through you. And that's a really thing that can get your ego out of that, out of the way. And then stay out of their pockets. I mentioned that earlier too, of like, we can decide they can't afford it. And I don't always believe this to my heart, but I like this thought because it helps us. It's kind of funny and it kind of shakes you out of that belief. Is like, it's rude to go into somebody else's pockets. Like you wouldn't go through somebody's wallet. It's rude. So don't do it when you're deciding whether or not they can afford your services. And I say that just to allow it to offer a little levity for you, so that you remember that. So I'm going to open up here for questions. We have a few minutes left, but I love this quote. And Rachel Rogers has a great book, We Should All Be Millionaires. So if you haven't read that, it's excellent. And the quote is, instead of trying to be cheap and accessible to all, focus on being wealthy and influential to many. You will make a greater impact this way. And I think that's a motivational quote for us to end on. But if anybody has any other thoughts or questions, I'd love to hear it.
Can you repeat the Mel Robbins thing about how somebody will always not see your worth, or what was that? Don't let it be you. That is so freaking powerful.
I love it. Good. Yep, right here. And you can take a screenshot even.
Yeah. Hold on.
There'll always be someone who can't see your worth. Don't let it be you.
That is so powerful.
I love it. Thank you. Everybody feel complete? You feel like you're ready to boost your confidence and be in alignment with the vision you have for yourself and feel congruent with the value you're offering and the people you want to work with? Love it. That was really cool. Little thumb. Did everybody see the thumbs up? That was fun. I love it. Well, thank you guys for hanging with me. Let's see if I might have my contact information here. So you're welcome to connect with me on email. I do have a Facebook group. It hasn't been as active in the last couple of years, but I do still have an intention to get back there. So don't be afraid to join in there. And if I can help in any way, just let me know.
And I'll send a follow-up email and I'll include your contact info as well, Kelly.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, use my do the Kelly at TerraCare email if you don't mind. I just noticed that one's outdated. This one still works, but
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Anybody have any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for this incredible workshop. It gives me things to do as well that I was unaware of, and kind of really diving deeper into, right, why we are so valuable, and to shine that forward. So yeah, this has been very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Right. And for everyone, if you enjoyed this and you'd like to find out about more educational sessions and our community events, you can go to sanghahealing.com calendar, and I will follow up with an email. Thank you all very much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kathy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.